Welcome, everybody. Racing on Saturday is down at Durbanville. The Settlers Trophy is the feature race. There's some competitive races on the program, and it's going to be an entertaining day. If you are down in that neck of the woods, then go racing and support racing and, of course, support the tote. We've got a look at the betting and the race-by-race analysis. I'm doing this relatively early speaking because it's Friday night. It's late on Friday night, but I'm doing it on Friday night because of the load shedding issues tomorrow and other commitments that I've got. So let's get straight into sharing with you at the time of me recording this what the scratchings are. There's only three: race 6, number 12, Night Song; race 7, number 10, Top Quality and Important Scratching; and so to race 8, number 8, We're Jamming. As you can see, Tarantal picks up a ride on race 7, number 3, Pack Leader, and there are no shoes on race 4, number 4, Western Wall. Okay, straight into the fixed odds, I think, and let's get into the first race on the program. Hunting Trip is as short as 3 to 10, basically. Well, 3.5 to 10 is Hunting Trip in the first race. And Hunting Trip's probably going to win, but I'm not so sure I'd be rushing off to take that kind of a price. Yes, she's a daughter of Trippy. She's had some form, and she's drawn one. She's got Richard Faree, so she does look pretty hard to oppose, I suppose, when you look at it like that. But there could be some improvers or potential improvers in the race. And Justin Snaith also has two runners that race for Henry and Pat Devine, and they are very well bred, although obviously by definition there hasn't been any money for them, not if the Sable Companion is 4 to 10. Number 11, Cloud Chaser, is one of those. She's a daughter of Silvano out of a Jetmaster mare, Come Fly With Me, who I think was a sprinter. So there is some speed in that pedigree. But obviously the negative is a debut and drawn 11 out of 11. But Muzzy does ride. The other Pat and Henry Devine filly is number 7, Just Before Dawn, who's also a Silvano. Interesting that Louis and Cottrell rides that. And her mother is a daughter of Captain Owl. So they are pretty nice sorts. I'm sure in time they'll win a fair share of races between them. But clearly on debut, number 1, Hunting Trip, is fancied. Number 10, F8, is worth a mention. Not well drawn, but is a daughter of Futura. And she's only raced over the 1250 to date. So perhaps she'll come into her own when she races over a bit of ground. But she is from the Dean Canamay yard, and Kevin DeMelo, who's riding so well, rides. So just two interesting horses. Number 8, Aphrodite, is a sister to Vardy, and that's probably why she was fancied on debut, but I'm sure she's better than that. It wasn't a great run at all. Cityscape, who runs later on the card, won the race. She did make some late progress. So with that experience under the belt, Aphrodite could improve. Aphrodite named after, I'm sure, the mother, who was Cupid. So Vardy's sister could improve. And the other horse, and perhaps this is where the value lies, is number 2, Coastal Blues, for our friend Andrew Brand. They haven't, okay, the first run wasn't great, but considerable improvement on the second and third starts. And I like the booking of JP Van Amerwe and the fact that Coastal Blues is drawn 2. So I'm not so sure that she should be 20 to 1. If I was going to price up, I would have had her more like 14 to 1, and Hunting Trip probably about 5 to 10. But everybody's got their opinion. It'll be interesting to see if Hunting Trip eases in the betting market, because although she is set to win, that does look, at the very least, rather skinny. Maybe punters will be using it in their all-to-comes or their Yankees and Canadians. Let's move on to the second race. And by the way, while I'm going through the races, I see Durbanville Racing, or Cape Racing, is honouring Stan Ellie, which is fantastic to see. Know Stan, obviously, very well, known him for many, many years, and terrific guy. And it's fantastic. I hope he has a wonderful day and enjoys the hospitality and his name being honoured, as it will be at Durbanville tomorrow. The second race is named after Capel, who was, I think, also a Fullard and Drew horse, wasn't it, Capel? Pretty good, or was it? Yes, I think it was a Team Fullard and Drew horse, but pretty good he was too on his day. I think he was a very good 7 furlong horse. Maybe his mother was Outstanding Star. That's why I was thinking for a brief moment that it would be the old Pfeiffer colours, which was What a Beauty, but I think that might have been the mother. Anyway, those colours now, of course, belong to Jonathan Snaith, I think. Let's get on to race 2. And this is the Capel Fillies and Mares 85 handicap. I thought this was quite trappy. Interesting that there has been money for number 1, Echo of Life, because I thought when I started to study, obviously she was number 1 on the card, and I first thought that she looked quite well treated by the handicapper here. She's coming into a Fillies and Mares handicap rated an 85, which means she only carries 52 kilograms. She's got Gareth Wright from a 1 draw, and she's a Master of My Fate, owned by, amongst others, Marsh Shirtliff and another one of my colleagues, Gary Lemke, which is good to see. And I think the money might be spot on here. Certainly 10-1 was decent value. Number 2, Treasure Hunt, is very consistent. Pete Wood has done a tremendous job with her, but she does have 56 kilograms to carry, so she's got to give 4 kilograms to number 1, Echo of Life. 3, Lady Mystico, has got Muzieni and a 3 draw, not without a sneak, nor 2, number 5, Miss Greenlight, who's a 4-year-old, and she's a daughter of Gimme the Green Light with Louis and Cotois. And last time I looked, I think Louis had 4 winners at Fairview on Friday, and he really is riding exceptionally well at the moment. 5, Perfect Trust, is, I wouldn't say she's long in the tooth, but she's a 5-year-old who's had 17 starts already for 2 wins. Richard Faree gets on reasonably well with her, so I suppose she'll run her race, but for me, I'm looking elsewhere, although I have to say she's only got 55.5 kilograms, so I wouldn't drop down dead of shock if she were to win. Number 6, Fusillade, is eased in the betting market, but wouldn't leave her out of your trifectas for sure. 7, Fleeting, ran against Jasmine in top quality last time, and I think she's got a chance, but she has to shoulder 59 kilograms, so I think she's probably got top weight. Let's just have a quick look, because of course the way they do it these days, you've got to have a look. No, Fusillade has got top weight. She's got second weight to carry. So in the good old days, Fusillade would be number 1 on the card, and number 7, Fleeting, would be number 2. But no, that isn't the case anymore. Let's not dwell on that. And over the page, number 8, Daughter of Zeus, for Robert Bloomberg and friends. Not without a sneak either, although the negativity is clearly the draw of 8. So summing up, I think it's an open race. There's no doubt that certainly an hour or so ago, I would have told you Echo of Life represented definitely the value in the race, and might still do so, but the 10-1's gone. I think you must respect number 1, Echo of Life. Now, in terms of where the value lies, I don't think there is any particular in the race. But my first choice would be number 4, Miss Greenlight. I would go something like 4, 1, and 2 in the first leg of the place accumulator. But it is a trappy race, and any kind of results possible there. As I say, pretty open. Right. Fortunately, I think things do get a bit easier as the card progresses. Let's have a look at the 3rd race of the day. Let's see if this is also named after one of Stan's horses. No, this is the Hollywood Bet Spring Country Series maiden plate. Well, clearly, I was going to say, when they lost at Cape Racing, Louis and Cotois rode the first timer, and I thought the Brett Crawford stable companion was the right horse, but made a suggestion that you should follow Louis and Cotois, really, because he definitely has first choice of rides. And that day, although the first timer eased, he won a terrific race. And it might be more of the same here, because Inside Story on pedigree, you would suggest, being a son of Dynasty out of a Spectrum mare, that he'd probably need something like 1.5 times the distance of 12.50 that he makes his debut on. But the money is poured on him. And as I said, the last Cape meeting, the Crawford first timer that was ridden by Brett Crawford swept on past to win going away. So lightning likely to strike twice, not impossible. I would have utmost respect for that money on number 1, Inside Story. Inside Story has the inside gate and could be inside the winner's enclosure at the blink of an eye. So full respect there. The obvious danger is number 7, Ozenkur, and Ozenkur's already had 3 starts, so he's improving. He's pretty exposed, but he's got Richard Faree on drawn 7. I'm sure he'll run his race, but of the 2, certainly I thought the value was number 1, Inside Story, just putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5. Just above number 7, Orson Kerr, is Bournemouth, who is a son of Camford Cliffs, and this is number 6. No money for him on debut, and Brett Crawford does, as I say, have Louis and Cotwell on the 1, although Keegan de Mello is more than an adequate substitute on number 6, Bournemouth. Number 4, Sir William, that's the only other one I wanted to mention. I thought that was a terrific debut from the Andre Nell runner. He's a William Longsword out of a Fort Wood mare, and he was doing some low flying last time to run into the quartets. Not impossible that he runs another forward race. So for me, race 3, unless there is a terrific drift about number 1, Inside Story, or he goes down to the start and looks like he's in desperate need of a run, I think he's probably the horse to go with. Just before we do go, just one thing about number 12, Night Tiger, at the bottom there. The big negative about him, of course, is that he's drawn 12, but he did improve steadily. He's had Tarantal and Ashby, and now he's got Gareth Wright, but the 12 draw is probably a major factor. But interesting that 2 of Stan Ellie's biggest supporters, Fullard and Drew, Mike Fullard, James Drew, have owned this horse. In fact, the reason for that is they owned the mother, Ray Ray, who was trained by Stan, which is why I mention it. So there is some synergy going on down there on a day honouring Stan Ellie. But number 1, well, if it's like the Crawford and Mkotwa combination in recent weeks, then you'd have to say that that's the money to be followed. Let's move on to race 4. This is a maiden special weights. Not going to take much winning. In fact, if you had the ambulance in the trifecta, you'd probably run a drum. It really isn't very strong at all. Number 3, Global Avenue, is a 4-year-old filly. She's had 3 starts. She's improving. But of course, being a special weights maiden, she has to carry 59.5 kilograms. So she's got to give the 4-year-old colt, number 2, Guy Alexander, she's got to give him 3.5 kilograms. Now that to me seems not cut and dried. I think number 2, Guy Alexander, will run well here. It's a nice ride for Smuggler Marlowe, pickup ride as it were, drawn 2, and he's well in at the weights in this race, I should say. The obvious horse is number 5, Global Forest, but he hasn't won. He's had 1, 2, I'm just having a look, 3, 4. He's had 4 dips at these maiden special weights. Let's see what he's been carrying all the time. He's been carrying 55, 54, and now 60. So what's happened to him is he's actually gone up in the weights in these special maidens, because he's actually been doing quite well in them. And every time he does well, he gets another little bit of a penalty. He was at one stage a 61 and a 58. That's when he ran in some of those maiden special weights. And now he's crept up to a 66, which isn't quite the handout that he was getting. So he could be vulnerable. It wouldn't surprise me if he did win, because he's been knocking on the door. But he's got to carry 60 kilograms here. So he's got to give Guy Alexander 4 kilograms. That's quite a bit. Certainly going to give Guy Alexander a sneak with Smuggler Kamalo on board. Does the race end there? I'd like to tell you it does, and it probably does, but you've got to respect Scallywag, who's got only 52.5 kilograms. I've already mentioned that Pete Boert is a very good conditioner, and I see that Suzette and Barcia own that. That could be an improver with Muzzy on board, and likewise, obviously, number 7, Quasimodo, who only carries 54 kilograms. So just bear in mind that this is a special weights maiden. I think I've just talked myself into having an each-way bet on Guy Alexander for my good mate Peter Wrench. And I think he's probably got the right jockey on board there for that horse, carrying not as much as everything else in that special weights maiden. Okay, let's move on to the next race. This is the Cape Racing thanks Stan Ellie FM 80 handicap. I mentioned it'll be good to see Stan honoured in this fashion at Durbanville on Saturday. The race here is an interesting one. I'm going wide. In my exotics, I'm going to go wide. I think you've got to respect number 4, Cityscape. He didn't make a great debut, but the signs were there. He drifted off the boards. At the second start, he was relatively firm in the market at 7-2 and absolutely doddled home to give Camford Cliffs another winner. Keegan DeMelo rides. Of course, what's interesting is that one has to, excuse me, ask the question, why is Louis N'Kotra not riding? Well, the answer to that is simple. I had one or two punters saying to me, but Louis N'Kotra will be on the right one. Well, he can't if the horse is carrying 52. As it is, Keegan DeMelo is plus half a kilogram, but I think Louis can only ride 54. So hence the fact that Cityscape is ridden by Keegan DeMelo, who really is riding the crest of a wave. So that probably sets the standard. However, number 2, Different Face, has come down considerably in a period of time in the merit rating handicaps to a level where she is competitive. And once again, with Samantha Khumalo on from a 2 draw, I think she'll run well, number 2, Different Face. Number 5, Mar Black, is a horse that's won twice on the course or at the course. And one of those times that Mar Black won was actually over this course and distance. Aldo de May arrives from 5 draw, but doesn't look exactly like a horse that's slung in by the handicapper, because she's got to carry 60.5 kilograms. The horse that I like, and I hate saying it because I've been for her before and she has let the side down, is number 9, Seeking Peace. Those of you who follow us regularly will know that a couple of starts ago, in fact, her penultimate start, she was my price booster. Now, she didn't completely disappoint because she did run 3rd, and we ended up getting, I think, 14 to 10 or 16 to 10 a place. But it was just the manner in which she ran. I expected her to run a bit better. But again, she's even since that start, she's gone down another point. Muzieni rides. The negative, again, is the draw. But I do think that number 9, Seeking Peace, is well in here. If you go back to some of her earlier form at Durbanville on the 9th of March, and even on the 21st of May, I think she will run well. So I'm not going back to the well again, because once bitten, twice shy. But number 9, Seeking Peace, is certainly perhaps some value, and was at 10 to 1. So summing up this race, I think number 4, Cityscape, number 9, Seeking Peace, the roughie, and respect for number 2, Different Face, and Mar Black. Let's move on to race 6. And this is an interesting race, a very entertaining race, and some nice horses here who are still making their way. Some have been exposed and disappointed. We'll get to that in a moment. But race 6 is the Middle Park Stakes here. So here, if you have a look at the handicapping and the best weighted column, well, number 11, Sugar Mountain, comes in pretty well. But as you can see, it's drawn 11. It's number 11, so drawn 11. And while we're talking about poor draws, number 13, Lion's Head, who had a very big reputation. Never mind Lion's Head, he would have been given a big head because everybody was talking about him. And frankly, he's been a disappointment. He now finds himself with Keegan DeMelo back on board, but the negative is a draw of 13. But he did have a big reputation. Maybe he needed a break and can come back a different horse or a better horse. He hasn't run though for 143 days, so you can maybe keep him safe, but his day might still come later on in the season. So those are the 2 that I wanted to talk about there. But I think there are horses in the middle part of the market that catch my eye. Let's start with number 7, Global Alley. This Global Alley has been gelded. Now, the Futurist from the Brett Crawford yard, who's number 4, has got some decent form. And the fact that Louis N'Kotra is not riding him, but riding number 7, Global Alley, is very interesting to me, because on exposed form, I would probably have thought the Futurist was the right horse. But perhaps Louis N'Kotra and Brett Crawford are convinced that Global Alley will improve with the gelding. And he's certainly got a pedigree to suggest that could be the case. So number 7, Global Alley, represents definite value in the race. There's a couple of other horses I think that represent a bit of value. I'm not going to leave out number 5, Northern Song. He's having his 4th run since gelding. I like the booking of Calvin Habib. And I think he's a horse that can go, if he can get to the front from a 5 draw, which he possibly can do, I think he could be quite a tough nut. He's quite a resilient galloper, is number 5, Northern Song. So I thought he was quite a big price at 20 to 1. The race doesn't end there. I mentioned number 4, the Futurist. Number 6, I Want It All, is owned by Nick Johnson and Stradivaris' owner, Bjorn Nielsen. I wrote here in my computer form, I think he's better than his form suggests, which is a bit strange because form is supposed to tell you everything. But in the back of my mind, I do think he's capable of better. He's number 6, I Want It All. And yeah, I think he might run well. He has actually won at this course, so maybe Durbanville is what he's looking for. But at 14-1, I've seen worse outsiders. The other 2 or 3 to talk about, and what, as you can hear, I think is an open race, is number 8, Van Hunks. Now, he's probably the right horse, is Van Hunks. He's steady in the market at 4-1. He's a Silvano out of that unbelievable broodmare Table Mountain. There's been many, many winners from that family. This horse was gelded on the 25th of April. So like number 7, Global Alley, he is going to strip a fitter and lighter horse and less between his legs. So this is his 3rd run after being gelded. And I think he's been steadily improving. So if you have a look, on the 29th of June, his first start after gelding, he ran on nicely to finish 5th. And last time, just touched off by Night Ruler. Richard Ferree rides, and Richard is the guy who rode him when he won his, or shed his maiden, which was at Durbanville. And the more I look at it, the more I think number 5, Van Hunks, is probably going to be my roving banker in the race, but not great value at 4-1 in a competitive race. So summing up, I've spent a bit too much time on this race. I think it's pretty open. I didn't mention number 2, Silent War. I suppose I should do. It comes from a very good family. He's drawn 2, and he should run his race. But I think it's pretty open, is the 6th race. For me, and I haven't yet done the Take a Bet exotic for tomorrow, but if I was going to do a PA, for example, I would probably put in the following horses: 5, Northern Song; 6, I Want It All, is my roughie; definitely number 7, Global Alley, recently gelded; and number 8, Van Hunks. And perhaps, if budget allowed, I might throw in number 11, Sugar Mountain. But an interesting race, and will be a good one to watch, as hopefully Van Hunks or Global Alley can win for the first time as geldings. Let's move on to race 7. Hopefully I won't take as long on the Settlers Trophy. No, I won't. I think this is where you can go short. I'm going to go for the 2 Snaith runners here. Number 2, Somerset Morn, and number, what's the other Snaith runner that I liked? Oh, Salvatore Mundi, which I see is quite a big price. So Salvatore Mundi, for me, now that I've just seen the betting for the first time, represents some value at 16-1. But the stable companion, number 2, Somerset Morn, of course, is a brother to Charles Dickens, who runs in the last race. So that mother demanding lady the broodmare might have a good day. But 55 kilograms is the key here. I mean, that is no weight at all. And it might be that Drakenstein themselves a winner in the form of Somerset Morn in or at the Settlers Trophy. The Settlers Trophy itself, I saw there was some form. Salvatore Mundi ran rather poorly, actually, last year at the Settlers Trophy, when, for whatever reason, he was backed to 3-1. He ran an absolute shocker. Maybe he doesn't like Durbanville, but I still think at 16-1 in the betting market with just 56 on his back, Salvatore Mundi could find his way into the placings. But my clear first choice here is number 2, Somerset Morn. And those of you who do follow us regularly, you'll know I liked Baratheon last time, and he was just touched off. And he's a very nice horse. Pete Buerter trains him, just 52 kilograms, so I wouldn't leave him out if you are looking to cover. Been a touch of money for Han Solo. It's not certain whether he'll stay. Chrome Yellow, in my opinion, might just have a bit too much pudding on his back. And also, he doesn't have the greatest of Durbanville form. So I think Chrome Yellow is probably being readied for an onslaught on the other Cape Town Marathon races during the course of the season. Top quality, it says, is still a runner here, but we know that that isn't the case. So with that being scratched, we might see Somerset Morn shorten further in the market, or Baratheon for that matter. So that's the 7th race. Let's move on to race 8, and then we can wrap it up, and I can start concentrating on what we're going to do for our Take a Bet with Tab Exotic tomorrow. Well, the money is for the horse I was talking about a moment ago, Charles Dickens. So Charles Dickens opened up 18-10, now 13-10, and he is my clear first choice. He's got a lot of things going for him, apart from the fact that he's won back-to-back. He's unbeaten. Aldo rides, drawn one. We all know he's got a pedigree, and I think he'll be the horse to beat here in this graduation plate. I think he's got quite a bright future. The danger, well, maybe number 3, Iconic Destination, purely on form. Iconic Destination with Dave the King. Dave the King beat him last time by 2 1/4 lengths, and he's 3 kilograms better off. So if you like Dave the King, which some people do, then you've got to give Iconic Destination a shout. As you can see, number 8, Weird Jamming, is scratched. The only other 2 I want to mention, number 7, Narina Trogon, whose mother, of course, we all remember Beach Beauty, won very impressively on debut. Wasn't overly excited when I saw respiratory noise in the form comment, but he did pretty well, bearing in mind he had a respiratory noise, to win fluently on debut. The son of Silvano. I know he won over 1,000 meters, but just on that pedigree, you'd think that in time to come he'd won a mile at the least. The other also, well, I mentioned Dave the King already. The other horse is Tough Terrain. He won by 6 lengths, and he could make an impression in this last race. But I do think Charles Dickens will run well. You know, he's the type of horse you want to try and beat because he's unbeaten in 2 starts. But with Aldo and 1 draw in his pedigree, I think he is going to be hard, certainly, to bust out of the place accumulator. So speaking about that, that'll be the decision whether we do a take the bet place accumulator or jackpot tomorrow. It'll be one of those, I suspect, and whether it'll be the first jackpot or the second jackpot, I want to try and find some value. But the racing, of course, is going to be pretty good. Settlers Trophy. Our best wishes to Stan Ellie. Hope he has a terrific day. From Nico, myself, and the Clocking the Gallop team. And to you guys, the punters out there, yeah, good luck. Have a good day's racing, and hopefully you can crack it.